I'm feeling a lot of anger about this child male 5 of my male 39 wife's female 39 affair that I've been talked into being a father figure for. This post is about me M39, my ex-wife F39, our 2 sons M7, M9, and the affair my ex-wife had that resulted in the end of our marriage as well as a 3rd child. We'll call Max M5. I've been thinking about posting something like this for a few days. I have to admit that reading the recent post by u/throwaway on college 01 is the thing that's pushed me to sit down and try to type this out. I think that what I want to talk about is parenting stuff, but I'm going to start by talking about the affair and dissolution of our relationship. My wife confessed to the affair about a week after telling me she was pregnant. Some of you know, a week I'd spent excited about what I thought was going to be my child. Turns out, no. It was an emotionally pretty traumatic time. I might have been able to work through the infidelity but made the ultimatum that she had to end the pregnancy. She was philosophically opposed to abortion and I knew this. She stuck to her morals in that particular instance and so I initiated a divorce. She has since married her affair partner. Regarding custody of our sons, there was a period of more conflict and resistance. I took the boys in the initial period of Max's infancy. And in the initial highly emotionally injured state I was in, I sought full permanent custody. But I wasn't likely to be successful, and I was eventually persuaded that despite the breakdown of my relationship with her, that it's in my sons' best interests to have their mother in their lives. Today, to the amazement of everyone else in my life, my ex and I remain cooperating partners in the parenthood of our children. For the last 2 years, we shared week-to-week custody of our 2 sons. This upcoming school year, Max is going to be old enough to attend the same school. About a month ago, I got sat down by my ex, her partner, and all 3 boys. And they all want Max to travel back and forth with the boys each week and effectively live with me 50% of the time. Seriously, there are some arguments for it, admittedly. The 3 boys are friends and brothers as much as I resent it. Splitting them up regularly does seem like a weird sibling dynamic that could have poor consequences. I'm angry with my ex for broaching the topic with the boys before me, but it's also an entirely reasonable thing for the boys to have an opinion on. I agreed. What was I supposed to say? No. Why not? I can't say because I hate that Max exists. So I said, okay, do hate him. I know he doesn't deserve to be hated. I know he's no more responsible for the circumstances of his conception than any of us, but knowing that doesn't seem to matter. He's a walking, talking reminder of all the worst emotions that I've ever felt. On coming to end of his 2nd week staying with us and the boys, we had moved him into my home and made space for him. I hate the sound of his voice. If he needs help in the kitchen, I'm immediately annoyed with no good reason. I'm constantly angered by his limitations that are entirely in line with being a 5-year-old, things I would never get angry with my sons over. I'm short-tempered and just energized with this useless visceral anger. Feel like the last years of my life have been a carousel of humiliations and degradations. The only way I've been able to keep everything together is constantly repeating to myself that pragmatic argument that no matter how authentic my grievances are and no matter how justified I am in my anger, it doesn't help me or my sons for me to devolve into an embittered rage hermit. Just hold my tongue, breath deep, and force myself to do the thing that will actually help. So I remain in regular contact with their mother, and I talk to her politely on the topics that I have to. Since recognizing that I don't have the legal power to exclude him from my sons' lives, I have been cordial with Max's father. That I've been able to do these things has been the only thing about myself worth feeling good about. But maybe it's not worth feeling good about. Maybe I regret being civil. Because in Max's presence, that pragmatic argument is just not enough. It's like all the anger I've set aside through sheer force of will returns at once and possesses me while I have to talk to him. I thought I was doing the right thing, but if I had remained combative and negative, I never would have ended up in this position. What do? I'm constantly thinking I want to back out, to say, no, I can't do this. I'm sorry. But how can it justify that? No one else in the situation will be happy with that. The boys certainly don't understand why there would be a reason for them to be treated differently based on their parentage. My oldest has told me so explicitly, in a moment that made me feel both proud of him and ashamed of my own anger. Their mother and her partner would be upset. Part of me doesn't care and bitterly assumes they're just trying to get some free time for themselves out of this, but I'm trying not to dwell on that. My ex makes good arguments that this is in the best interest of all of the children. But part of me just remembers how long she lied to me and how totally I trusted her in that time. It seems like the only thing to do is the same thing I've ever done. Suck it up and get over myself and my anger. But if I do that, then I have to actually do that. Even if I'm being a responsible babysitter for Max right now, he deserves to live in a home where he is loved, not merely tolerated. Can I do that? Maybe I can't do that. I'm scared of a path forward where I can't work up the nerve to back out of this arrangement and consign myself to getting over it, and that I actually don't get over it, but rather dwell ever angrier with how my life has turned out and take it out on the undeserving around me. Update 1. Update: I'm feeling a lot of anger about this child male 5 of my M39 wife's F39 affair that I've been talked into being a father figure for. Hey everyone, it's been a few weeks since you heard from me. I guess I'm kind of in a spot to update now. So, my post got a lot of feedback, and it was pretty much unanimous. I heard from lots of people, parents and sons and daughters in blended families, people who'd been cheated on themselves, people who were maxed in their own families, and you all told me what I should have been able to admit myself, that this was not normal, that no one had ever heard of an arrangement like this. I resolved to end the arrangement and met with my ex-wife and her partner to tell them a few days after I posted, midway through their custody week. Many people advised me to speak to my boys about it first, like my ex did to me, but I wanted to deliver the message before having to take Max again. I was thinking that it might be better to instead call them out on that behavior and try to get them to agree not to include the boys in that level of discussion before me, and then we could all sit down with the boys. The meeting did not go well. They were both pretty mad at me. I had tried to prepare for it to be uncomfortable. I told myself just to be polite and firm, that I didn't owe them an explanations beyond "I'm sorry it's not working out." I guess he had made some career move based on this schedule that I was up. In hindsight, I do feel sort of responsible for that frustration and that I regret agreeing to this arrangement in the first place, but in the moment I really was not giving about this man's work-life balance. Then he said something about how I wasn't being fair, that they just wanted a fair custody arrangement. That made me very mad. Thinking about this all to type it out has my heart hammering. I have some different opinions on fairness. I said some pretty regrettable things to both of them, and then we were all screaming at each other for a while, and then I stormed out and I didn't talk to the boys. I didn't get to talk to my boys for several days until handoff. They immediately were asking about why Max wasn't with them, and I, prepared for it, held a more serious talk with them than I had up to this point. I talked about how it's great that they enjoy spending time with Max, but that I'm their father and that Max has his own father to spend time with. I also talked about how this whole spectacle of our lives is difficult for me, that I don't like having to spend only every other week with them, that their mother's decision to start another family with Max's father and Max still makes me sad. This is pretty awfully difficult stuff to talk about. I've been pretty strict with myself about not venting to my sons about their mother up until now, but effectively, and that's meant I haven't really talked about her or our breakup at all. If you can't say anything nice, as they say, story 2. I was the side piece, but now we are in a committed relationship. This is an extremely messy situation, so it needs some background and will definitely get confusing. This will be very, very long. I had made friends with a group online, and it started out completely platonic. We knew some people were in relationships when we first joined, but things started to escalate. The flirting got way more intense between everyone, but mainly 4 of us. The 3 were in relationships while I wasn't. There were 2 nights in particular where things got serious with drinking and things got out of hand. This was all online, but it was still cheating, and I actively took part in it. From there, 2 of the people who I will call AB and CD got way more serious, falling asleep together, hooking up online constantly, and openly flirting. AB was in a monogamous relationship, whereas CD was in a poly, but closed relationship. Me and the third person, F, had a crush on AB, and I also had a crush on CD. And CD were really into each other and wanted to start a relationship, CD even telling AB that they loved them. It was then, about 3 months after this started, they both decided to come forward to their partners. For reference, I came forward and told both of them I didn't want to participate anymore and that I needed to move on and better myself, especially because they were both in relationships. AB came forward and their partner said they would be willing to try making it work. CD only told their one partners and planned to tell their other partner at some point. Everything came to halt when someone told CD other partner about AB. They were very upset, and due to this, AB and CD decided not to pursue a relationship. Their friendship from here would get worse and worse, AB being emotionally manipulative and CD gaslighting. At this time is when AB started coming to me for help to vent. We became a lot closer as friends, which was good cause I had a mini fling going on at the time, until that person cheated on me. We broke up very fast after finding it out. I had been cheated on before this, and it made me realize how terrible I was for taking part in the cheating. Me and AB being so close now, I went to them and they supported me. It was around the same time AB partner broke up with them due to the cheating. Me and AB kept talking as friends again, but it started to get romantic once more and feeling better cause neither of us were in relationships, and we eventually decided we wanted to date. I said to AB that we cannot date until he is over his ex and that he can be honest about the situation. He came to me one day and confirmed those boundaries. We started dating. It wasn't long before CD and some of the other people in our group left, calling AB a million bad things, though none of them took accountability. Me and CD tried to have a civil talk, but it simply did not work, and ABX never reached out to me, and I never reached out to them, as AB didn't want to make them feel even worse. It has been about a year since the formation of this group, and it has gotten me thinking. I was cheated on a couple times in the past, and seeing myself become a part of that monster made me question everything about myself. Through therapy, I was able to recognize my reasonings for my actions, and it will never be okay what I did. TW for serious mental health stuff. Around that time, I was in one of my darkest depressions. I fell back into SH and my ED, as well as having a SUI attempt. I was failing out of college, not going to work, and drinking every day. The only things that made me happy at the time was drinking and intimacy, so I fell into that pit. TW over.